All right. Rock, scissors, paper.
All right. It's going to be an hour of these. Oh, you get to start.
All right. I'm Chad. This is
Hector.
Hector Hill. Chad
Morning.
Tyler. This is at the bar at the Tyler place, and we've been asked to do a what are we calling this? I guess Ask Chad and Hector.
It's Chad and Hector, and we've got some questions from
people-
everybody online, from Facebook. And
So I guess we're just supposed to randomly see.
why don't I
these are.
pick first? I'll start. You can start
You get
this
to go
off.
first.
Well, you won the rock, paper, scissors, so you get to go first, I think.
Is it rock, paper, scissors?
All right, yes. All right, Chad. This is from Jan. What are your top 3 stories from TP?
They all involve Jan. That's interesting.
That's right.
Top 3 stories. There's a lot of stories.
As a kid, I remember the Mrs. T doing some sledding. Mrs. T, for those of you who don't know, is our grandmother, and she and our grandfather started the business almost 80 years ago. And no, do you remember sliding? We'd go down the hill behind Kingfisher, and she would this is in her 70s, she would lay down on the sled. My sister would lay down on top of her. I would lay down on top of my sister, and we'd
You guys,
barrel.
that's amazing, because she never went sledding with us, but she would sled with you. I remember
There's
though,
6 of you.
But I
She'd
remember,
have
you
to
remember how we
stack it really
do you remember how
high.
we used to get the sleds, because we'd store them all in the old inn, and Dad would take the old snowmobile, and we'd do a whole we'd tie them all together, and it'd be this big progression. So we'd come down Old Dock Road with the sleds, and we'd all pile on them. Do you remember that? You were
No,
pretty young.
just poor
Remember
Quentin,
doing
the
that?
caboose
Yeah, Quentin was all.
bringing up the,
Quentin got run over on the sled. Remember that when
did.
Jeffrey did that? Did you ever? There wouldn't be much in the. But Mrs. T, she was a funny character too, and this
Yeah.
is the great thing about my grandmother, because she insisted on being called Mrs. T. She refused to ever be thought of in a traditional female role.
Yeah.
And so one of my favorite stories is my older brother Jeffrey, who works here as well. Once went into the house and said, just barged into her house and said, "Hey, Grandma!" And I think he was going over for something, because usually you had to have an appointment with Mrs. T. But he yelled in and said, "Hey, Grandma!" And she picked up a broom and literally chased him out of the house with a broom, beating him around the ears. So, there's always the. I was thinking Quentin's favorite worst.
Oh, I know
Quentin,
where you're going with this.
my younger brother, has run the boat dock for many years and has very little hair left to show for it. But there was a guest. We always try and we've got a big bay here, and the weather can change pretty drastically. And so I remember the guest who took a Hobie Cat, and they were looking from the boat dock. You have Bandstand Island and then the rest of the lake. And so a guy who was on a Hobie Cat capsized just behind the island. So from the boat dock's perspective, it looked like he was fine. Capsized behind the island, and then a few minutes later, all I saw was this capsized boat being blown across the bay. So they scrambled, called the Coast Guard, went looking for this guy. He was gone. And what they didn't realize was that a bass fisherman was out there behind the island as well. And so when this guy went over, fisherman came over with his boat, said to the guy, "Hey, do you need some help?" And the guy said, "No, I'm all right." And he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Well, I'm fishing." He goes, "Really? I've never gone fishing before." So the guy picked him up and said, "Well, why don't you come with me?" And so he took off and went fishing with this guy. And so it was like hours later, he came back to the Tyler place, bass boat dropped him off. We'd had the Coast Guard. Quentin was
Q.
apoplectic. Oh, poor Q.
I can also think one of the things we do a lot here is there's guest staff activities, as many people know, and we'll play softball versus guests. Basketball is one, and I don't know if you remember this. I have the scar to show for it. But playing basketball, I pump faked. One of the guests jumped up, and as I went up and he was coming down, his teeth went directly into my head.
Didn't he have dental work?
That was the thing. As I didn't know at the time, I thought for sure, because I reached up and felt trouble, and I assumed, I thought his teeth were going to be, I was going to find them in my head. And as I found out after I got back from the hospital with 7 stitches or staples in my head, he had titanium teeth because he'd done something similar to that and had broken his teeth.
I remember that. Oh yeah, who was the guy who went off that? He went right off the bridge.
Too.
I mean, he flipped. That was amazing actually, because he came down. That's a great story, because we were near the end of the ride. What was his? And he came around it's a narrow bridge on our bike trip. This is our mountain bike trip that we have each weekend. It's about 15 miles, 7 miles of single track, and there's a narrow bridge over a brook that comes out of Proper Pond. And this is before I put the ceiling tiles on it, the roof tiles, so you had a little traction. And so of course this is pressure treated lumber, so it was pretty slick when it was wet. And this one guest Dan, came down around the corner. We'd get to the other side. We'd all stop and cheer everyone over the bridge. And Dan came down and he lost it. I mean, his bike went right out from under him. He flipped with the bicycle right off the bridge into the brook, but he landed right on his feet, just precisely on his feet. He just went, ta-da! And everyone stopped and we all went, yeah! And everyone started clapping. But he had a tattoo. The bike had gone with him, and he had a tattoo in his calf for years because the chain ring had just kind of gone chuck, 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 and
That is always funny. You see at lunchtime on Friday after the mountain bike, so you can tell who's been on the thing because there's usually like a chain mark across the.
Meredith, you want to read this one?
Yes. Meredith asks the biggest behind-the-scenes blunder that guests never knew about. Does that imply that there's lots that guests do know about?
Or that there's multiple blunders. This is just the biggest. All those little faux pas that don't...
Blunder.
I remember the...
block them out.
Yeah, right. I remember the night I booked 2 DJs for the dance party. That's a tough one.
We'll get back. Maybe we'll get back to that one if something thinks...
We never.
Not that we're trying to bury that question or anything.
No. We're perfect.
I see this. Let me ask this. This is directly for Chad. How did Chad get started with a potato cannon? I want to describe a potato cannon, which sounds very Civil War-esque or something.
It is spud gun, spud ordnance. The potato cannon. I built it with Lachlan, my son Lachlan, who's also. Many guests know he's a tennis pro here at the Tyler Place, though he hates being called the tennis pro, but he's a very good tennis teacher. And cocktailer. He serves cocktails. When Lachlan was younger, one of those father-son bonding things. I don't remember where I found it. I think maybe even a guest may have mentioned it, but there's this wonderful book called Backyard Ballistics, and it teaches you how to make all sorts of things, spud guns and trebuchets and air cannons and all these things. So Lachlan and I built a spud gun, and it's really amazing. Those things are powerful. And so then I started bringing it to the bonfire night, I think, because I was just getting bored with the format. And it's really fun at night because you can actually see the flame, but you use hairspray. The cheapest hairspray you can find is the propellant. And
but to picture, you might not realize if you don't know what a potato is. Picture it, it's basically a PVC tube, this long tube, and you take a potato, or you must spray it in. You mash it in.
Mash it. It's very fine. It has a very sharp edge, and you got to see how you want it as airtight as you can get it. And then you load the potato down at the bottom of the can, and then you have the combustion chamber, which is wider PVC.
Yeah.
And a little screw top, so it's good because it's a kind of a group activity. So one person puts the spray in, one person's holding the camera, one person closes it, and one person fires it.
And then Lachlan's out on a little dinghy, and Chad, see who can come closest to him. Well, that's he can hit him back with the dragon.
I think actually, Bobby, one of our guests, took a video of me trying to get Nature Dave with it when he was out there on his raft. We took the spud gun out and we were trying to hit Nature Dave. We got actually very close. We got much closer than I thought we were going to get with the very first shot, so then I changed.
That would be, that actually reminds me, this isn't a Tyler, well, no, I won't even say. We'll move on to the next question. We'll save that for next version.
All right. That's
what do you got? Let's see.
Okay, all right, now this is for you, Hector. From Melanie, what would your dream job be if you weren't at the TP?
Dream?
That's such an easy question.
That is, you know yours. All right, let's see you.
No, I don't. That's an easy question. That's a very hard question. That's not an easy question.
That is.
What would your dream job be? Would it be just, being like Hemingway, sitting down in Florida, writing, drinking?
If I think it was Hemingway, that would be good. I might do the Paris version of Hemingway, though. I kind of like that. I think I'd be sitting there.
People would be
Voltaire might be
a little.
No, I'll stick Hemingway era. But
Hemingway era. You like that era?
I'll do the Paris. That sounds pretty good. Good answer. Thank you.
A successful writer.
Successful writer would be even unsuccessful. If you're in Paris, who cares? I could.
No, dream job. I don't know. That's tough. Something that had travel in it. I mean, something similar to the Tyler Place. At least in the certainly in the summer weeks when new people are coming in and meeting new people. I mean, that's a blast. I mean, that's what was really fun about doing film work.
Yeah.
That you always had this new group of people are being on stage.
That's true, because it is kind of sad come September 10th or whatever the last one. You're waiting. It's Saturday. All right, Saturday. Hey, 5 o'clock.
We could
Few
just,
people,
we
it's
could
getting-
just, we
and
could
then
just
nobody's
officially,
there.
I know, we could just officially join the circus, because I've always said that kind of what
It's
we
true.
do is a bit like being in the circus, because we just create this place out of nothing. in
And
about
which
2
are you?
weeks.
Are you the lion tamer, or are you
No,
the
I'm
one of the
those-
clowns
I'm one of
climbing
those
into the
clowns.
car?
I'm one of those clowns
Really
with sad
stuff
clown,
as many-
little pathos, try to be funny, and yet they don't realize the tears.
that you're. We already did that. Funniest. Oops. Which?
This is an odd question. Where was Hector going on 3/23/13? That sounds, is that like the end of the world in Aztec?
Who's
calendar?
asking?
Mitch.
All right, just need to know.
Mitch?
No, I'm just kidding.
Mitch, how you doing?
Mitch, it's Mitch.
This might be Mitch. This might be
If
our
it is.
former head of maintenance and builder. And you
That
may
has
know
to
his-
be. Oh, I know where I
You
was
know,
going.
you know
Yes.
his son.
This was.
A lot of guests would know his son, Blake,
Yes.
who ran the bike shop for many years.
No, I was going to a wedding actually.
Nice.
Now that I think about it, Joel worked here. He was a boat dog guy years ago, and he was finally getting married.
Isn't that a wild thing, all those associations?
Yeah,
So you
I know
run
that
it,
is
yeah.
nuts. I didn't even think of that.
Who worked here forever while you're going out to see your buddy Joel's wedding, who worked here.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on.